Welcome to The Longer Game, the only show that's dedicated to the future of retail. We bring on real-life people in the retail industry. We talk about their experiences, we share their stories, we apply it to what's currently going on in the market, and we look towards the future of retail. You could say it's Retail Reimagined. My name is Michael Marr. I run a customized, done-for-you service agency called Cartology that helps brands win on Amazon. Now, while my expertise stems in the Amazon field, we bring on a wide array of guests because retail is expansive. You've got e-commerce. Yes, you've got marketplaces like Amazon. You've also got brick and mortar that is evolving. You've got logistics. You've got technology, finance. There are so many aspects to retail, and it's complicated. So we're here to bring you the entire story. Do you think that you have an interesting story and you'd like to tell it on the podcast? Then go to thelongergame.com and fill out a form to be a guest on the show today. You can catch The Longer Game on any social channels: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and our website, thelongergame.com. We've got all awesome guests on this show, so that I will promise. Are you ready to hear more about the future of retail? Let's get down to business. To The Longer Game, the podcast where we talk all about retail. We bring on all kinds of guests. We have people from actual brick and mortar spaces. We have people in e-commerce. We have people that are in my field, in the Amazon field, and we bring on brands too. And today we have someone from a brand with us. Her name is Michal Liberman. She is the CRM Director of the SAC. Welcome to the show, Michal.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Tell us more about the SAC and more about what you actually do there as well.
Yes. So the SAC is a handbag and accessory brand. We've been around since 1989.
Wow.
Primarily for the first 30 years of the brand, we were really exclusively more of like a wholesale brand, B2B, and then made the transition to be a DTC brand sometime before COVID. So excellent timing there.
Beautiful timing there.
Yeah, for sure. And we started as a crochet brand. So our founder, Mark Tellucci, was really inspired on his trip to Bali, Indonesia, where they make authentic crochet bag, and the artisans there have like the highest skill set of crocheting. And he decided to bring that to the US. And so we were the first crochet handbag company in the US. And long story short, today we sell not just crochet, some of our like more iconic styles like the 120 hobo, but we also sell leather styles, suede styles, and sometime along the way, SAC Roots was born, which is the sister brand of the SAC, where we make bags made from recycled plastic that's pulled from the ocean. We are a B Corp. We got that status.
Oh, wow.
A few
Congratulations.
Years ago.
That's hard to
Thank
do.
you so much. We are really, really proud of it. Our founder says that he wants the SAC to outlive him. And so from a sustainability perspective, it's like an anti-revenue decision because it costs us a lot of money to be sustainable and to choose those practices that are kinder to the environment.
It's an anti-revenue decision. And also, I think it's kind of a revenue decision too, because you build loyalty for people who care about sustainability. And I think consumers are very values driven, whereas it used to be, hey, I buy this product Folgers because it's on the shelf and it's there, or I'm, marketed to. Now people are going and seeking out brands that, hey, I am a carnivore, or I want high protein, or because I'm a bodybuilder, or I'm vegan, or, I really have a passion for removing plastics from the earth. And so it is very costly to do, but I'm guessing it probably helps increase lifetime value with consumers. Not that you can necessarily tie it to that, but that's where my head goes with that. I don't know, what your thoughts are on that.
Absolutely. From a branding perspective and from a storytelling perspective, it's really in our favor, and it allows us to attract some of the younger audience that is a lot more environmental conscious. And not to mention too that our crochet is made from recycled plastic, so it's supposed to last you a lifetime. It's supposed to be a bag that lasts you many, many years that you can, pass on to your kids. I do see sometime in New York City, like women walk with like a very, very old style from the SAC, and it makes me very proud.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I think of brands where, I've referenced this before on our podcast, but Patagonia, you walk in with the jacket, They're like, this jacket's ripped and torn. It's like, yeah, of course it is. It's, 30 years old, and you
Hmm.
got something, got an accident or something, and it caused it to rip, but they replace it right away. So it's durable, but then if something does happen, they're willing to, again, it's an expensive decision. They probably couldn't do that for every single person, but I think they would, and that again creates loyalty with the brand.
Yeah, the go back cycle. We have a partnership with ThreadUp where you can ask for a clean out kit, and then you give out the old sack styles or any sack or any styles really that you want to use in order to refresh your wardrobe or your closet, and you can redeem your credit at the sack.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's customer loyalty. I know that
Yeah.
you're focused on that. You are running the customer loyalty program at the SAC, right?
Yes, that's
So,
correct.
but that sounds like this is a part of what you're doing too. Like, are you involved with that thread up, and is that something that you manage or at least operate around?
To be honest, no. It's not part of the loyalty program, but it does help with our lifetime value, and it does help with our branding and as far as like our B Corp standing.
Mm,
But for loyalty, that's true. I joined the SAC almost 2 years ago, actually, on October 30th, and was the CRM manager. And my goal was to progress the email program, the SMS program, and the loyalty program, and kind of like got into the nits and grits of all of the retention stuff.
mhm.
So for loyalty specifically, we had a loyalty program, but it wasn't really used or alive. It was kind of just like set up and nothing else was being communicated around it. And the conditions that were set up in the past were kind of like as soon as you hit that lifetime spend, you reach the next stage. And from a retention perspective, we made the decision to make the entry qualifications lower. So not as
No.
high of like the $500 to get to the next tier. But also the requirement is that you spend the X amount of money, so 150 to get to tier two and 300 to get to tier three, on a rolling year. And we made sure that the benefits are like really making it worthwhile for the customer. So to your line of business, we are also on Amazon, and it can be a little bit like a cannibalizing process. But at the SAC, we make sure that we have exclusive styles. We make sure that our customers know that if they buy it at the SAC, they can collect points, and we're very generous with our points collect program. So 1 point, 2 points, and 3 points per dollar spent for each tier, which is literally $30 back for the top tier on every $100 that they
Wow.
spend. Yeah.
That's a good program. Yeah, I mean, people running on Amazon, people can often worry about cannibalization. Like that's a big question that people have. And I think you can do both. You can grow your direct to consumer business and grow Amazon. You have to do it thoughtfully. So like having exclusives, especially for fashion brands, super great way to do that. To because Amazon's really a customer acquisition channel. Everyone's on there, or most people are. How do I get some of those people to actually notice my brand? Maybe they would never go to my website because they're just not normally shopping there. Maybe they shop on other websites, but maybe they're not going to my website because that's just not where they're normally looking. But now they buy one of your bags, like, man, I love this. I want to see what else they have. Let's check out their social. Let's go to their website. Oh, they have a program or something that I can get in and I can get points. Great. Now
Mhm.
you've got a potentially a customer for life because you acquired them by leveraging Amazon.
Yeah, so I read the statistic. I'm not sure exactly what the number was, but something like 45% of online shopping today are initiated by an Amazon search bar. Is that where it stands?
Yeah, I mean, the last stat that I saw was like 53%, but I mean, still, it's the
Hmm.
lion's share of people. They're not going directly to Google. They're not searching on, I mean, I'm sure generative AI will change that, although Amazon's Rufus is a generative AI search engine, essentially like find me this, protein powder that's got 20 grams of protein per scoop and is under, $50. Like it can do that, not with 100% accuracy, but yeah, most people go to Amazon just to find products. It is the number one product search engine. And so that's how a lot of people use it. They could even be in a retail store and look up something and say, all right, I don't know much about this brand. I like the aesthetic. What does the reviews look like? What do the reviews look like?
Mhm.
What are
Yes,
some
reviews
other,
are big.
so like all that plays into it. And so now you have acquired a customer potentially in store, but Amazon was a leverage point, and it's hard to tie those two things back to each other. But I think overall, when you are visible on there, you really and you're doing it well, you should be very visible on in the category that you want, the terms that you want, not just your brand, because a lot of brands will be live on Amazon and they just focus on, the sack, the sack, the sack. Like, great, you're going to win a lot of that business anyway. You still want to defend it, especially if you got fierce competitors. But what's, maybe sustainable purse or sustainable bag? That's a term that maybe you want to win on. And are you tracking that the right way? Like, those are all components of how you win on Amazon. You're more visible there. You're more visible, hopefully outside in the direct to consumer world, but also in a retail store too.
Absolutely, yes. It's important to have a storefront. It's important to do a good job of social listening to understand how people are reaching to you and identifying you, and what's your uniqueness in the market when it comes to your product.
You just said social listening.
Yes.
I like that term. Tell me more. Tell me more about what social listening is.
Social listening for us is really reading carefully the reviews, understanding what people love, what they don't love. When at the SAC, when if you need to return a product that you purchased, you are required to leave a reason why, and that's been extremely helpful in making some of the decisions that we've made to the product. For example, we have a product that's called the Los Feliz Crossbody. It used to have a snap closure, and our customers were saying that they really wished it had a zipper,
Hmm.
and we added a zipper. Um, Other times, when with the returns, we see that like, oh, this Los Feliz large tote is a lot bigger than I expected. And once that became more of like something that we see more and more, we decided to add the name large to the name of the product, and that's really helped with like the returns because people now have that expectation that it is a large bag. um, so things like that have been super helpful for CRM specifically. Not too long ago, around July, I ran a giveaway, and I asked my customers to tell me which bag is their favorite and why and what they use it for. And I said that out of like the six bags in a specific collection, I will give away one of each. And we got like nearly 200 responses of people
Wow.
telling me what they like about it, what's their favorite color. A lot of them went on to like write long paragraphs about how it's been like significant in their family and that she bought it to all of her friends, and go on to make these additional suggestions on adding a tassel or adding a button or like different things like that. So you can have a lot of fun when you actually reach out to your customers and ask them to participate in like the process of the creation, and then they feel part of it and become even more loyal.
That's like a gold mine right there. I mean, you just got UGC that you can probably use and leverage in some capacity. But I like the social
Yes.
listening aspect. I'm not the best, I will just say admittedly, I'm not the best listener. I love to talk and converse with people, but I mean, for the longest time, it was like I'm waiting to speak because I'm so excited about something. It's not because I wanted to overrule someone, but I'm just thinking about what I want. And when you listen, you ask a question and you listen, it's a superpower. People will share things and tell things to you, and if you just pick up on stuff, you can say, "Oh, well, I was kind of thinking about this, but they said this. What does that mean? Let me dig a little bit deeper there." And then you start to find clues to things. So from a customer perspective, hey, maybe they're complaining about something. Why are you complaining? Okay, well, they're complaining because, oh, I got a rash when my skin touched something. Okay, you can now go ask other customers, are you also experiencing this? Yes. Okay, it's a bigger problem. Maybe it's a one-off thing. Okay, they said it was this, they're not a button person. Okay, well, everyone else likes this, so we're going to leave it that way. But you ask questions and listen and actually take the feedback and incorporate it. I think that's a loyalty strategy too. And really just we want you to stick around. We want you to feel heard. So we're going to ask questions. We're actually going to listen to you. Like, imagine that you ask a question and someone answers and you respond to it and they like that.
Yeah, for sure. I know a lot of brands are taking social listening to the next stage, even to utilize like online AI social listening to understand what is trendy. And um, on social media right now, a lot of times they have a product go viral and then they sell out of it like within minutes or days. And they don't want to be in that situation because they want to be able to supply to the demand. On the other hand, you don't want to be overstocked because that's even more damaging. So I've heard of other brands that do social listening to understand and catch right before a product is going viral,
Mm,
and that's been successful to them. But at the SAC, for example, we launched a new bag last year that tests Sling, which is this like shape that I see everywhere right now. It's pretty penetrated in the market right now. It's this half moon, and and then we sold out of it like super duper quick, and we couldn't keep it in stock last year. And this year we really invested in it and expanded the colors and expanded the fabrications, and it's almost like a lot harder this year
yeah.
because like, is it too late? Like, are more brands hopped on the train? So social listening would have helped a lot to understand the trends for this year.
I kind of felt where you were going with that. Like, well, we expanded and then now it seems like it's been a little bit, a little bit more difficult. And that's honestly, I think that happens all the time. When I started out as an e-commerce business and so was selling, did that for 6 years and then transitioned into running my agency Cartology for the past 8 years, which I love. What's interesting though is there were people who would sell products that were hot and like you had to jump on it quickly because the trend might be, you know, it could be a year, it could be 6 months, like fidget spinners. That was a real big one
Yeah.
when I was first selling. And they stayed kind of hot for a while, but like then it was you started like, 6 months, a year later, man, there are so many and there used to only be a couple.
Yeah.
The
COVID
timeliness piece is
masks.
big. I was just gonna say, I didn't want to just bring up the pandemic, but yeah, that was another
Yeah.
thing. I actually had a brand who came to me and said, or a company, and they said, "Hey, we want to sell masks on Amazon. We've got this great supplier, whatever." Okay, like a lot of people, and I was really honest with them. I said, "They're like, we want to do $1 million." I said, "Okay, I think that's possible. Let me find out what it's going to cost you." And I said, "Okay, over the next 12 months, I think you could hit 1.5 million. It's going to cost you 1.2." Crickets. And a week
Yeah,
or
yeah.
two later, finally followed up. Hey, sorry, we were busy. We were at a trade show. We're just going to stick to wholesale. I'm like, okay, like,
Mhm.
it was great for a little while, but now it's hard, I think, to ride those out. Although I will say, hand sanitizer does seem to be more popular now,
Mhm.
and there are brands that I do think have actually ridden that out well and done it in a creative way. And an example is a brand that my daughter likes called Touchland. They have like scented ones. They've got this
Mhm.
really cool, you know, little container that could probably, I don't know if it could go in a keychain or not, but you can just squeeze it right in your hand. They've got all kinds of flavors, scents, whatever. I mean, not flavors. Don't use it as a breath refresher, but
Yeah.
they've got all these different scents, and they've actually turned that. I don't know when they launched, but that's something that's they've been able to stick around and turn it into something, and maybe leverage a trend that kind of faded, but is still present in people's minds.
Mhm. The challenge with a slow fashion brand is that you don't want to be too trendy. You want to be relevant, of course, but you want to educate your customer that this bag is an investment, that it needs to last a long time, that it needs to, be bulletproof to the trend that comes and goes. So,
Yeah,
yes and no. We try to find a happy medium.
I think like you said, you want to play the long game. You want to be around for a while, which I get. I think that sometimes the basics just work. Like everyone probably owns a black shirt or blouse or dress. Like everyone looks good in black. It's
Hmm.
hard to beat that. That's oftentimes the number one style that a lot of
Yeah.
people like to purchase. So you want to make sure you're stocked up in that. But could you educate and say, hey, this other item is really good, and or maybe this is a better quality because of whatever the case might be. But I think those basics are really applicable. Sometimes the basics just work, and you want to do those basics really well, like good quality items that
Hmm.
last are that's always going to be in style. I mean, no one's going to be like, I want this thing to be done, in a year. It's just when you are a fast fashion or trend brand, it's easy to lose sight of quality or other things because you're trying to catch the trend.
Hmm. For sure.
You want to build a program that's evergreen that will run itself and maybe even outlast you.
Yes.
What are you thinking about as a brand? So you want to run something that I'm sure you're thinking about personalization, but there is such a thing as over personalization. I don't know what your thoughts are on
Yes.
that, but how do you build something or how are you building something that can be evergreen and that can be self-fulfilling or self-sustaining?
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. You don't want to be too personable, especially because our customer average age is 65, and she might not be as savvy when it comes to like understanding how we're collecting information about her. So I'll start from the top. Like, I want to build an evergreen program that will run itself for the most part, or like the heavy lifting will come from, the work that you put up front. I want to have a legacy, um, and for like a career milestone that like I've built this awesome program that's is set it and forget it type of stuff. And so in order to do that, I had to use a lot of dynamic content, and I had to think hard about the strategy to understand what works well and what should trigger each campaign. And I've realized that something that works really, really well for the stack are color story emails and collection story emails. So we just launched this beautiful color that's called aubergine. It's
Hmm.
selling like hot buns. It's really, really trendy right now. And so putting together an email with a beautiful header and all of the color SKUs and the styles that come in aubergine is a strategy that works well for the stack. And so
Is that like a brownish red color? Am I right? Or no?
aubergine is purple, like
I was
eggplant purple,
I was
not
not even close.
close.
Okay, well that's
That's
why I
okay.
don't own a purse company. Bag
Yeah.
company.
Purple and red and green are actually, according to the forecast, are going to be what's very trendy
Oh,
this winter.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And so through creating an API integration that collects data on the color that a customer is browsing and a color pattern that we notice that somebody is more interested in specific color palettes, we can then trigger templates with an evergreen hero and an ever-changing product catalog of all those colors in that of all the styles in that color, so it's always relevant. So something I that was very hard when we did it, kind of like as a hard coded template, is we sell out of things, seasons change, and it's no longer relevant, or we make upgrades to our products, and so then it doesn't look like that anymore. And I really wanted it to always be relevant for like that minute that they open the email. And that's been so great for us to create those color story emails and to trigger them to people that the API notices that they are showing interest in specific colors. And it's full price, it's evergreen, it's relevant, and it's not creepy, right? Because
Yeah.
it's suggestive of colors. And so
That is kind of
the same
important,
thing.
not being creepy.
Yeah, to your point, there's a new capability on my email service provider for search and for search abandonment. So if someone searches for a gift or crochet bag or vacation bag, don't then send them an email 10 minutes later saying, "Are you still looking for a vacation bag?" Like, that's a little creepy. But maybe a week later, you can, wink, wink, send them like
Hey, we
relevant like
noticed.
vacation bags just
Oh,
in case
yeah.
you need them.
Yeah, like, hey, just in case you need them. Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, it's being thoughtful, which it sounds like that's what you're doing.
Hmm. Yes.
The color story
Um,
thing is really interesting, like, thinking about like and you said it's full price. It's not like you're running a sale. That's oftentimes how you're able to hook people, which can be helpful, but how do you keep people engaged without being creepy, you notice they have a preference for something. Let's start sending stuff out. And that's very subtle. Hey, here's this beautiful purple, not brown or red. And we think you might like these styles. Yeah, okay, like yeah, this brand gets me. I like the products, they know the colors I like. Yeah, like I think most people have an idea that, you know, things are being listened to or being followed. But to your point, if your audience is like maybe not really okay with that, it's still part of it. But how do we do it in a way that feels organic?
Yes, for sure. So those have been very successful. And then some of the bigger things that used to work in the past, like I realized that my customer needs more out of me, and so it's a lot of work up front when it comes to like setting up these campaigns because the volume is small, and that was the challenge because
Mm.
back in the day when the strategy was slightly different, we would send an email to whatever 500,000 people, and it would make 10 amount like $10,000, and it's much easier than to set up like 10 different variations for each color in each category and each um, like collection that this person might be interested in and trigger it at the right time. But I feel like I'm starting to collect the fruits from
Mm.
those setups around now.
So are you actually seeing more sales come from some of these targeted emails than those big emails that you were sending out? Is that one of the metrics that you're measuring for like how successful is this campaign?
It depends on the week. When we run a big sale, marketing campaigns like ad hoc campaigns still have a hefty impact. But when it comes to the engagement and the revenue per send, which is a metric I love looking at because it tells me how good of an email that was, like right person, right message, right time. Those are much better with the behavioral triggered campaigns.
How easy was it internally to tell that story and maybe sell that to people who were wanting to see metrics? Or, I think you look at someone who's CFO, maybe they're looking at revenue and profitability. But how do you like how easy was it to sell that story of, well, we need to do this and maybe it takes more time and it doesn't show it right now, but it's going to pay off later.
It's actually pretty challenging. We've made that transition in July. So I was ringing the bell of like, we need a CDP, we need a CDP, we need a CDP, we need a CDP, and finally secured the investment for it. But yeah, it's hard because in a way, the more emails you send, the more money you make, but you also lose those subscribers. You also lose that engagement. You take the deliverability risks, and it's just not a great experience for the customer. So it was challenging. I think that it was like kind of like a long process of doing little tests and doing more segmentation and showing the results and sharing, and then having a super supportive supervisor that kind of like went all in with me because I don't single-handedly know how to build all those integrations for the dynamic API needs. And we are here today, and we are sending like 40% less emails in the last 3 months, and we're making just as much money.
That's great. I mean, emails cost money to send. They're not free in the way that, most brands are doing it. And SMS is even more expensive. So,
SMS is a lot more expensive.
and so trying to find the right balance, I'm sure can be challenging, but you have to be willing to test and say, we don't know if this is going to work. We have a hypothesis, but let's test it to see what the results are and then make an assessment and go from there. And that can be challenging because people want to see the right now. But I think, you said you want to be relevant, but you want to last. And that takes experimenting with some stuff but also staying true to the core value of the brand.
Yes. And to speak on SMS, we have seen a big transition in our business. So SMS as a channel used to make more money for the SAC than email in 2021, 2022. And then in 2023, there was a slight shift, but not by much. And now email makes a lot more. So I know by speaking to other brands that SMS as a channel is kind of like trending down. Relevancy is even more important, and it's really private. SMS, like you're reaching to someone's cell phone, it's like a private area. The unsubscribe is like always available, it's like right there. And if you send one wrong text, like there's not a lot of forgiveness. Whereas an email, it is a lot cheaper and you can get away with more, um, with getting more patience and forgiveness from your customers, even if you're overdoing it in a sense.
And on your phone, there's a mark as spam now too, if you have an
Yeah.
iOS device. So you can very easily mark as spam. And that I'm sure that
Yes.
doesn't help your scores in terms of, who you can send to.
Yeah. Um, Quick note, not just iOS, but also Android if you're using the Google Messages app.
Okay. You can also mark as spam.
Yes.
That's good stuff to know. Like if you never used an Android device, there's really no way you would know that, but you probably have to know something like that, or at least read up on it so you know, okay, that's not just an Apple thing. It's also other devices.
Yeah, there's now deliverability reports on SMS, which is completely new. I have a deliverability shout out to my deliverability customer success manager that sends me deliverability reports every Monday. And now she's like, this is new SMS.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, you can't just send it to anyone however you want. You have to be mindful.
You mentioned it being personal, and I do agree. And it's easy to send because it can be quick, like you said, get the sale. But then maybe you lose engagement because you inundate that customer. And I think one of the biggest problems brands, consumers, everyone has is our access to information is so great that there's so many data points, so many pieces of information that are just flying at us. That's a lot to manage. And I think it can be overwhelming. Like that's why I think some people why they say I'm going to get off social media. I mean they feel they're addicted, which I think there's relevancy to that. I just saw some stuff in the news about Meta having to, go up against child addiction suits in like certain states. Like they're saying, hey, this is addictive to kids. And so states are coming after them. And I think there's relevancy to that. Like it can be very addicting, but there's just so much information and how much of that information is actually helping you. So if there's a company that maybe you liked, maybe you didn't like, you're not quite sure, they're sending you, a text a day. It's very easy to just, say, hey, that's one less thing I need in my life. And now maybe you've turned off a customer forever or maybe 5 years, like how do you get that person back in the loop? That's a brand awareness campaign that you're going to now have to do, to bring them in.
Brand awareness, maybe direct mail, maybe paid ad, but that's a lot more expensive than to just make sure that you keep them on your list.
What do you think the most important thing brands should be paying attention to? I didn't quite get that sentence out how I wanted to, but what should brands be most paying attention to right now? Just wherever they're at in their stage, but yeah, what should they be looking at the current ecosystem of, let's say, direct to consumer, just brands in general?
The most important thing, marketers should notice that customers and the audience is expecting more out of the campaigns, expecting more out of the service, expecting more out of like the frictionless experience. And they're very critical of hiccups. And they're looking at campaigns in more of a judgmental eye. Um, as in like, why did you send this to me? This is not relevant to me. Like, this is not, I didn't want to buy this. This is more too expensive for me. Or like, I'm not buying if there's no sale or things like that. And so adjusting those things, doing a good job at segmentation, and having very strong and good integrations so that your data flows very well is more important than ever.
Good data, the right amount of personalization, patience, and segmentation.
Yes.
And that's the book that you're going to write, right? On building a solid CRM.
Solid CRM.
Michelle, if people want to find out more about what you do, this has been a great conversation. I think there's a lot that people can unpack from really engaging with your customer. where would they find you? Just kind of strolling around New York, pointing people out with the sack bags, or where can they find more about what you do?
Definitely on my LinkedIn. I post every week about different trends and topics and things that worked out well for the SAC. So just my name, Michal, Michal Liberman, Liberman.
Great, and we'll have that stuff in the show notes as well too, so that people can link out to you. But yeah, it's been great having you. Thanks for coming on. And that's pretty much it, people. We don't have anything else, so you don't got to go home, but you got to get out of here. See you next time. All right, that was the show. What did you think? That was the longer game. We would love for you to share the show with other people and to leave us a review of the show. So go to iTunes, go to Spotify, even go to YouTube, comment, leave a review, and share this on any social channels that you are active on and wherever you have influence. We want to share this story and stories like it to as many people as possible. Do you have a compelling story and do you want to come on the podcast and talk about it, and you're in the retail industry? Then go to thelongergame.com, fill out a form, and we will contact you about coming on the show. You can find us on any social channels, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and you can go to our website, thelongergame.com, to actually read all of these episodes in blog form in text, because we know not everyone's going to listen. This podcast is brought to you by my agency, Cartology. We are a customized, done-for-you service agency that helps brands win on Amazon. It is super complex selling on the Amazon Marketplace. We help simplify that for you. This podcast is also brought to you by Podcastify Me. They are a full-service podcast production company that designs podcasts around people who are paid for their advice. That is coaches. If you want someone to help create, strategize, and distribute your podcast to the masses, go to podcastify.me to find out more. I've so enjoyed that you've been a part of the conversation and that you've given of your time to hear these people's stories. We'd love for you to share. If you want to find out more, just go to thelongergame.com. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay blessed. And until next time, cheers.